Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video where we are going to be looking at another one of the promises of God. In this video, we are going to be looking at the promise that God is forgiving. So have you ever been in a situation where someone has come up to you and said they were sorry for something they had done? Maybe they hadn't shared a toy with you, maybe they had said something that wasn't very nice, or maybe they had left you out of their game. When we are in this situation, we have a choice of what we can do. We could choose not to accept their apology, choose to do the same thing to them as they had done to you, or we could choose to accept their apology and move on. We all know what the right thing is to do in this situation, and that is to choose to accept their apology and to move on. This is called forgiveness. Forgiveness, or to be forgiving, means to stop feeling angry towards someone for a mistake they had made or a hurt they had caused. But sometimes this isn't always the easiest thing to do. We are going to look at a story that Jesus told in the Bible which can teach us a little bit more about forgiveness. But before that, we are going to play our song, Tell the World. So why don't you get up onto your feet, and we would love you to join in by singing along, doing the actions, and most importantly, having fun.
Shout and say, I'm gonna tell the world that Jesus lives in me. I'm gonna shout it out for everyone to hear it. How we should love. Jesus, you are the only way to the Father up above. Now I can live to show your love, to follow you each day, but I won't keep it locked inside. I just want to shout and say, I'm gonna tell the world that Jesus lives in me. Shout it out for everyone to hear it. Jesus is alive and he's living in me. Jesus is alive and he's setting me free. Jesus is alive and he's living in me. Tell the world that Jesus lives in me. I'm gonna shout it out for everyone to hear it.
When Jesus was here on earth, he would often teach the crowds of people that would gather around him using parables. Now, a parable is an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. Jesus taught a parable which teaches us more about the importance of forgiveness. And this parable is called the parable of the unforgiving servant. And it is found in Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 to 35. In this parable, we read about a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. This means that he wanted to get back any money that his servants had owed him. Now, there's one of his servants who owed him 10,000 bags of gold, but he could not pay it. So the king decided to have the servant, his wife, his children, and everything that he owned sold until he could pay back the money that he owed. But the servant begged the king to be patient with him, and that he promised that he would pay back all of the money that he owed. But we read in Matthew chapter 18, verse 27, "Then his master was filled with pity for him, and he released him and forgave his debt." The king had decided to cancel the money that he owed and to let him go. How amazing is that? But then, once the servant was released, he went out and found another servant who owed him just 100 silver coins. He demanded that the servant pay him back, and he had no pity for him. He had this man thrown into prison until he could pay back the money that he owed. But then the other servants had seen what had happened, and they were really angry. So they decided to go and tell the king everything that had happened. This also made the king really angry. So he had this servant thrown into prison until he could pay back the big amount of money that he had owed. So what can we learn from this story about forgiveness? We can learn about how important it is to forgive others, especially when others have forgiven us for things, just like we have seen in this story with the king and with the two servants. But this story teaches us about someone who has forgiven us for something really big. And this person is Jesus. God sent his one and only son, Jesus, into the world to live a perfect life and to show us how we should live. But then Jesus chose to go to the cross and to die for our sins. He chose to take the punishment that we deserved for all of the things that we have done wrong, so that we could be forgiven. It says in 1 John chapter 1, verse 9, "But if we confess our sins to him, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all wickedness." This verse means that whenever we come to Jesus and say that we are sorry for all of the things that we have done wrong, he promises to completely forgive us. No matter what we have done wrong, or no matter how many times we have sinned, Jesus promises that he will always forgive us when we ask him. But not only that, because we have been forgiven, we too can choose to forgive others when they do things that are wrong against us. Even when it can be hard to forgive others, we should remember that Jesus has forgiven us for everything we have ever done wrong. So we too should be willing to forgive others, just as Jesus is always willing to forgive us. And because of this forgiveness, Jesus can become our best friend, which I promise you is the greatest friend you will ever have.